Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Voltron Legendary Defender Comic review. This one is going to be for issue 4 of the series, so this is 4 of 5, only one issue to go, which is coming out next month. I assume there has been some release kind of delays, but I don't think it'll move out of December. It should be released before the end of the year. So yeah, story is as ever by Tim Hedrick and Mitch Iverson. Script by Mitch Iverson, art by the Digital Art Chefs, and yeah, that's the kind of thing here. Cover is, interesting this time out. They're not really going for covers that are directly related to what's going on within the comic, and they really haven't done that for any of them. They're just meant to be kind of cool images, so this is kind of group shot of everyone in their kind of normal clothes, not their paladin kind of armor. But yeah. We knew going into this, based on the setup from issue 3, that this was going to be the Page kind of character-focused issue, and so that was definitely exciting to see, like, how they approach doing it. And the thing with this one is that they really heavily set up what this was going to be about, and it basically followed the exact kind of trend. The last time out, the Princess Malakoti basically said, reaching the galaxy means passing the brain-sucking mushrooms, defeating the ghostly chess master, and answering the riddle of the Sphinx, which is basically exactly the 3 things that Page has to help to solve within this issue. There's not really too much to like spoil or not spoil within this issue. It's just Page gets the character focus, like Hunk did previously, like Lance did previously, and we get an incident with a big giant monster that kind of involves Voltron to deal with come the end, but by the end it's basically just that, oh, I don't know where the thing is, you have to go here to find out where the Elaxian Pearl is to help Karan. So the series is definitely following a similar formula in that everything is basically on the last issue from here, based on what's presented to us here. That the last issue is going to deal with another situation like this, but it also has to resolve the plot. Hopefully. They do say at the end of this, I will actually note this before I get into talking about the issue in specifics, in the solicitation basically for issue 5, it says, the Paladins will finally behold the Elaxian Pearl, but will this discovery be a great victory or a great disaster? Find out in the final issue of Series 1. So very clearly the fact that they say that, I think more or less confirms that there is going to be a Series 2. I don't know if it's been like confirmed. I haven't really seen any news articles confirming if for sure there is going to be a second series, but I think this has been successful enough and good enough that I'd like to see a second comic series done. But now if they are going to actually resolve this plot and go into a different plot, or just continue this one, I'm not exactly sure, but we'll discuss that as we go through. So let's start with the issue, kind of full spoilers here from here on out. It's the Page focused issue. So we basically directly start with a page, and we've kind of got this before, that they kind of go for an interesting style for each character. So with Lance in the last issue, they went for this kind of medieval, like fancy wording that he thought of himself as like a heroic knight hero, and he talked about himself like that. With Page here, we get kind of computer stuff. It says here, Page, colon, backslash mine, backslash exposition, end bracket, underscore. My name is Katie Holt, aka Page, mission, brother and father abducted by aliens. And the key of this is basically that we get a little bit of insight into her character, at least the way she sees herself. People are ... difficult for me. I'm better with computers, but I've made some good friends along the way, and so on. And interesting, she says here, Karan is one of my closest friends, and he's always been there for me, providing a laugh when I need it, and teaching me so much about the vast universe, and some of it's true. And that basically is kind of the insight into her before we get where they're going. So they immediately arrive at the kind of desert where this kind of threat is going to be faced, and very quickly they come across this pyramid-like structure, which you can see here. It activates and reveals itself to be, in I think the big art page of this issue, and one of the most impressive pages of art from this artist, revealing what the kind of monster of this issue actually is. Really cool design for this thing. I'd love to see this animated, but given that they've focused on this kind of unique story for the comics. It probably won't be, but you can see some of the lines in the background there looking at this thing. Really, really cool. But yeah, he just says that I'm the great universal sphinx, why have you disturbed me? Paige obviously gets the focus, and we see that they're kind of quite similar. They're both super analytical. The sphinx says, I'm a repository for great research. I've been analyzing life throughout the cosmos for over 1 million years, and of course I know where the pearl is. However, I do not know whether you are worthy of the information. Who is the most knowledgeable among you? They push Paige forward, and basically just says, your body, mind, and spirit shall be tested. Enter, and we'll test you. So the first thing that happens is that Lance, Keith, Shiro, Hunk all get these mushrooms attached to their heads, and this is obviously what I said earlier on in the review, that this was part of the setup of the brain-sucking mushrooms. And the idea here is that the Sphinx takes control of everyone else and basically says, the test of your body is that you have to defeat your friends in combat. And it's basically just that they, on foot, using only their paladin weapons from their bayards, Paige has to fight all of them. It's kind of a little bit of kind of team, like 4-on-1, but primarily it's 1-on-1. So Paige, initially shocked by this, kind of gets, a little bit of damage, gets knocked around a little bit. But then she basically says, I spent my life compiling data, praised for being prepared, mocked for being paranoid, but even though these are my friends, I've kept a dossier on each of them, examining them. Lance's range makes him a top priority. He's good at teaming up and picking on engaged targets. He's more vulnerable close up, and she basically manages to take out Lance by uppercutting him super close up. Next she deals with Hunk and says Hunk is strong but also dangerous from a long range, but his weight makes him easily thrown off balance, and she kind of sweeps his leg. With Keith, she says Keith is an amazing fighter, but his brashness makes him unaware of his surroundings, and basically she basically dodges him, hits something up on the ceiling of the cave, and knocks it down on him. That kind of takes Keith out of action. Then comes Shiro, and it says here, Shiro ... no weaknesses on file, and it says Paige : /mind / thinking. Weakness in fighting style, none. Potential weakness found, painful memories resulting in debilitating flashbacks, unsure of how to exploit. Weapon, energy hand, processing, oh maybe I can hack it. Paige, mind / dodge. Dodges his arm, and then she hacks into his arm, and that stops him from punching, and then she punches Shiro and knocks him out, and that defeats the first task. I think it's a cool action scene. It's just, I wouldn't really rate Paige kind of right up there with all the fighters on the team. And I get that they explain that she used her analysis skills to defeat them, and to some extent they're not themselves because they're being controlled by the Sphinx, but it's their fighting styles. I suppose it's just a matter of if this was perhaps animated, they would have done it in a slightly different way, to more get across that this was a lot against the other guys. I don't think it's too big of a problem, but it's just that I can't really see them really doing this for some of the other characters. If this was any of the other characters in position of having to face the other 4, apart from maybe Shiro or Keith, I don't know if they'd be able to defeat them all. It's just a little bit weird the way they kind of approach doing this, and that basically Paige just defeated all of her teammates fair and square, because the Sphinx does say just prior to this test starting, they will fight exactly as your friends fight. So I think I would have more emphasized that they are not exactly themselves, but it's not too big of a problem. It's just a little thing that irked me here, in that with Hunk, the only thing he did was mention food. With Lance, he's just silly, and then they give all of this amazing stuff to Paige in this issue that there's not much of a problem. They just kind of established that I'm not good with people, but I don't even think with her that's been established too much. And I love Paige as a character, but I do like the scene after that though. It's basically everyone saying why are we injured after the mushrooms come off them, and she just explains that I kept files on all of your weaknesses, and they're kind of wait, you did that to us? And she's just yeah, I'm sorry, I know it's weird, that's just how I am, it's my nature. But anyway, The next one is the game of chess, which we obviously had referenced before, and it's basically a game of chess against herself. One of the mushrooms kind of jumps onto her, kind of, they say it like sucks out her mind, but like it's kind of like it makes a copy of her mind by sucking it out, and she has to basically win a game of chess against herself. But the others are with her, so she basically, after a couple of moves, realizes that she can't really do this on her own because, since I think they kind of roughly explained that, like, since the opposing her is going second, they'll have the advantage in being able to counter her moves, so she has to do something different. So she again analyzes all of the people around her and is like, Lance's strengths: better at striking from distance, good team awareness, and luck. So she puts Lance in charge of the rooks on the chessboard. Hunk is in charge of the bishops because she says fearful, but that makes him good at not attacking straight on. Heath is in charge of the knights because he attacks from the side. Shiro's in charge of the pawns because he's a really good leader. She actually says Shiro's the best leader in the whole universe, which I did like that. That's very in character that she'd be so complimentary of Shiro, because it's, in a way, I suppose it's kind of like to her I think like Shiro is a kind of like combination big brother, almost father figure type character, that Shiro makes up for the fact that her brother and her father are both missing. So the fact that she's so kind of complimentary of him, I think, makes sense. But anyway, they basically just established that working together, having the other four also analyze the chessboard, with her kind of organizing everything, they eventually do win the game and get checkmate. And then the last one is the riddle of the Sphinx, and the question is, what can be totally broken apart and yet reform stronger than ever? And the obvious answer I think everyone comes to is Voltron. It has to be Voltron. Voltron, split apart, is strong, but if you put Voltron together as its combined form, it's even stronger. And it made complete sense. But the Sphinx says you failed. The correct answer was hope, and everyone's just like, wait, like Paige says it first, but everyone else joins in. It's just like, that is such a vague riddle. It could be anything. That, like Hunk says, it could also be love. It could be swords, because I've often heard tales of people getting their swords broken and then reforging them to make them even stronger. And Lance makes a kind of joke like, my heart is stronger despite the number of times it's been broken, referencing his girl issue. And Shiro just stands up and says, I think Paige's answer should be honored. Doesn't work out. They form Voltron as if like they're going to have to fight this guy to get the information out of him. And then there's a brief fight that happens here. They really kind of skip over it. You can tell that they focus more on the plot for this one rather than the action. There's a brief fight, it dodges one attack, but then Voltron comes full force at it and knocks the Sphinx down onto the ground. And the Sphinx just gives up. Like, really quickly gives up. Says, okay, I'll tell you. I'm sorry, I know it was a horrible riddle. I just do that so that people can't answer correctly. I do it to make myself feel superior. It's pathetic, really. Little joke with Lance there. And then he basically says, where is the pearl? It's in the ever shadow of our moon, but it's in a dangerous place and darkness lurks below. So this ever shadow thing is kind of what needs to happen here. And then we end on Paige with Paige saying, Paige, /mind, /feelings, memories of Quran, sadness, happiness, courage, let's go save our friend. And based on the cover, it seems like it's potentially going to be a Shiro focused one. The mention of like Everdark and stuff like that, it seems to fit maybe that. Because I do think, looking back on it, if you had to give an issue, like a character to issue 1, it would be a Keith focused one, because he was the one who delivered the final attack that defeated that thing. But yeah, that's the issue. Apart from the whole, like, I think like it's a little bit like questionable that Paige, like, just the way they set it up, that the fact that Paige just objectively like beat everyone else on the team, whereas I don't think logically, based on their fighting skills, that should have happened. I guess she used kind of cleverness to kind of get around it, but it just wasn't, I suppose, the best constructed kind of situation to be in that it was like 4-on-1, but somehow she was able to tackle them all 1-on-1 and stuff like that. Not too big of a problem. It's just that With the other characters, I felt like they kind of addressed a little bit more than they did here. Everything else, though, I thought was pretty good. I liked that they were referencing kind of Paige as a character a lot. That, you know, I'm not good with people, and she's very analytical, but she is also aware of the strengths of her friends. That I like that. At the same time as she keeps like files on their weaknesses, she is also very aware of what their strengths are as well. That and I think the conversation that happened after the weaknesses situation helped to really kind of bring the issue together in terms of the core of what's going on here. The art continues to be, I think, really, really good. Sphinx was a little bit weird. I felt like it's just like, okay, they have to do something here, and you can tell they sort of ran out of page count towards the end, and that they just had to have the fight be really, really quick and him just be a coward in the end. And you know, I don't really mind the plot too much. That, like, okay, he doesn't know either, let's go into the last place. The only worry I have going forward is that issue 5 has to both basically be a full issue like this, deal with just one thing, this Everdark place, but it also has to be the issue where like they return, get Karan back, and do all this other stuff as well. Probably, you know, establish that Allura is back up or something like that, and then maybe set up the next season. It probably won't set up the next season just because I think they'll have to go for a different like time period within the show, in that this is, again, it continues to say, this series story takes place immediately after 108 Rebirth. So I think they'll maybe skip to like, maybe it's in between episode 9 and 10 or something like that. I can't remember the exact details, but it'll be interesting to see what they do. Yeah, so the only worry I have is just 22 pages basically to tell a unique story, plus resolve this whole story as well, and potentially like give Shiro some character development. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to go down, but so far it's been good, and I do have faith that they can bring it together. So I think that's all I want to say here. Really solid issue. I think fans of Paige will be pretty happy with this issue overall, and I think it's a pretty good addition to the canon of the show. And yeah, I think just reflecting on this with one to go, the whole series, it's been a really good series so far. It's been fun. It hasn't been like super like important for sure, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like your typical spin-off comic, which oftentimes feels like the most thrown together story of all time, that it's just so non-important that there's actually not a lot to gain from reading it. This one, at least, I think is really fun in that it's this quest of like, let's go here to find the information. Oh, this guy doesn't have it. Let's go here. Doesn't have it. Let's go here. And they're just constantly fighting monster after monster after monster. It's just it is quite fun how they turned what effectively, like, I suppose is the whole idea of like the original Voltron, where like it's a new enemy every episode, and they're kind of just turning it into an overall plot thing. It's feels really good. But yeah, gonna end it there. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on the issue if you've read it already. But yeah, other than that, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.